The Lockhart Perspective. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. The Lockhart Perspective. Helping you along the way. Helping you to make it through another day. Yeah, yeah. Everything you need to know that you never knew, that you need to know. The Lockhart Perspective. Well, I just want to tell you that I am so happy today is Wednesday. Yes, it is Wednesday. This is Felicia Lockhart of the Lockhart Perspective, and I want to welcome each and every one of you here today. For all of you who have been so supportive of this channel, I just want to tell you thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do any of this without you. And hello, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, afternoon all, she says. And then she loves on me. I love the love. Thank you. Today we have our brother here with us. And, we posed a really good question the other day. I think it was yesterday when I juxed one of the contexts or one of the scriptures that we had to the phrase, the last shall be first, the first shall be last. And it goes, no, it's not that. Today, he's going to give us great detail as to what that means. The first shall be last, the last shall be first. Then it goes into the passage that says that, few are called, many are called, but few are chosen. Melvin Thomas and Sarah Brown, how are you? So, we've got Ronnie.d.Mann. Ronnie.d.Mann, how are you today?
I'm excellent. Thank you very, very much. It's always a pleasure to be here on the Lockhart Perspective.
And we're always blessed to have you stop by. So, what's it all about, Alfie? What does it mean? The last shall be first, the first shall be last. I've got the scriptures. Do you want to just jump right in?
Yeah, I want to talk about it real quick. Let's talk about it.
Let's do that.
Mm-hmm. So it's it actually in our culture, in our society, in our on the tips of our tongue, it's actually just become a soundbite. And what is it? Where did we get this concept from? And then where do we have the understanding? Who gave us the understanding of this concept? The interpretation, is it a correct interpretation? What's going on is we get a lot of things, we get a lot of sound bites from off of the pulpit, and we have to really understand the modern day Western church. These are we're dealing with theologians.
Mm-hmm.
These preachers, these pastors are theologians. Mm-hmm. They're not necessarily called per se. I'm not saying all everybody anybody behind a pulpit is not called, but what I'm telling you is that this is an institution. These are 501 these are 501c3 institutions, and if not, they are becoming collectively the entity of a 501c3, which is government sanctioned, government run. So and these entities are getting
these actual companies, because anything that has that type of 501c3 is now relegated to a company.
Exactly. But the people are getting their accreditations from scholarship.
Yes.
Not from
the
set apart spirit, not necessarily from the set apart spirit. I want to say, but clearly, definitely getting accreditation from scholarship, from academia, and that is counter kingdom. If we look at the priesthood, even when Yahushua walked the earth, John the Baptist was the legitimate priest in the throne room, for the throne room, in the sanctuary, I would say. It was John the Baptist, but he was out in the wilderness.
So that would be considered like the highways, byways to us today, right?
Yeah,
Pretty
we can do
much,
that.
yeah.
We
Yeah.
can do that. The wilderness is a specific, place of desolation in Scripture, but
Ah.
so is the highways and byways. It's
Yeah, that's a desolate place.
they. I guess you'll see highways and byways in the wilderness or whatever. But
Mm.
John. I mean, John the Baptist was not in the in crowd as far as the religious elite is
No,
concerned.
he wasn't. He was
And
not.
this is the man who baptized the man. Are you
Mm-hmm.
kidding me? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're getting a lot of our understanding from institutionalized religion versus the voice that's crying out in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
And we really have to go get baptized by the voice that is being cried, that is crying out in the wilderness, versus the voice that is sanctioned by the social elite or the
Mm-hmm.
religious elite. And this is vital. This is vital. Like I said, he's the one that baptized the man. Was his father was Zachariah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that is the Levite. That was the Levite in the temple at the time.
Wow.
And his mother, Elizabeth, she Levites have to marry a woman um from the line of Aaron.
Oh,
So
okay. Well, because
uh,
that's all the
it,
priestly.
it's a law.
Yeah.
It's a priestly precept.
Right.
That exactly. So any Levite that serves in the temple has to marry a daughter of Aaron. So he's clearly a Levite, and if he's a Levite and his father is in line, or is working in the temple, he's in line to be the next guy in the temple.
But that's a good point because I don't think I've ever thought about it like that. I never really thought that deep into it. But I mean, when you're explaining it, these things are true. So that's a good point. Okay.
So, but the thing is, he's not sanctioned by modern day religion of the day.
Which is possibly why they refer to him as this quote unquote wild guy, just a wild man.
He wanted nothing to do with the religious dealings of the day. He
Okay.
went out into the wilderness and spoke
Mm-hmm.
truth and not traditions of men.
Mm-hmm.
So what's going on with the voice versus the voice that's out there in the wilderness crying out versus the voice that's crying out behind the pulpit? That's all tradition. Not all. That is largely traditions of men, and then rhetoric that's just been regurgitated for the past 150 years over here in modern Western society, wherever that is, whatever continent that is on, because
Mm-hmm.
that's a mindset. Western
Mm-hmm.
society is a mindset, and um, they're all being accredited by the same various institutions, but the same institutionalized way of thought. If
Mm.
you're understanding what I'm
I
saying.
do. I do.
Okay, so um, what do we know as far as what the first shall be last, the last shall be first, and or the last shall be first, the first shall be last? I mean, what do we know about this concept? And then is it aligned with the context of what Scripture deems
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or is wants us to interpret,
Mm-hmm.
how Scripture wants us to interpret it. So that is the question. Forgive me, pardon me.
Mm-mm, you're
Um,
good.
all right, so you got Matthew 19 pulled up.
It's sitting right yonder.
Okay, so let's just really, really understand a lot of when Yahweh Shah speaks, he is speaking to get us prepared for the kingdom that is to come. Everything that he's speaking to the masses, and then when he goes into the his inner court, his inner
Mm-hmm.
circle
Mm-hmm.
of his close followers and close friends, he's breaking down kingdom principles. Um, so in Matthew 19, once again, he uses he uses an opportunity as a learning experience, and then comes right into a parable because of an interaction that he had
Okay.
with a young man. So let's start at verse 16 in Matthew 19. And we are talking about the first shall be last and the last shall be first, or vice
Mm-hmm.
versa. It's all
Mm-hmm.
the same.
Mm-hmm.
So verse 16, and behold, one came and said unto him, Good master, what good thing shall I do that I might have eternal life? And he said unto him, Why you call me good? Basically, why callest thou me good? There is none good but one, that is Elohim. But if thou wilt enter into life, keep the commandments. He said unto him, Which? Yahweh said, thou shalt do no murder, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness, honor your father, honor your mother, thou shalt love your neighbor as yourself. The young man said unto him, All these things I've kept from my youth up. What lack
Right.
I yet?
Mm-hmm.
Yahweh said unto him, If you will be perfect, go and sell all that you have and give it to the poor.
I could hear the needle on the record.
Do what now? Do what now?
I could hear it, right? Do what now?
Hold up. See, because that's not one of the 10. That is the principle of the entirety of the law.
Right. But he's talking from a point of, the religiosity.
Exactly.
Yeah. The religiosity of it, or the method, as it were. This is just the thing. It's just what's in this box. Yeah. No, nobody mentioned nothing about that, Yahweh Shai. I got to go do what? So who?
Yeah. So he said, if you want to be perfect, okay, so you got this down pat, right? So if you want to be perfect, go and sell all that you have and give it to the poor, and thou shalt have treasure in heaven. Then come and follow me. But the young man heard this saying, and he went away sorrowful, for he had great possessions.
Oh, man.
Then Yahweh said to his disciples, so he left, so he turned around and looked at his disciples like, Look, okay, verily I say unto you that a rich man shall hardly enter into the kingdom of heaven. And again, I say unto you, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter into the kingdom of Elohim.
And we broke that down about a month or two ago.
When his disciples heard it, they were exceedingly amazed, saying, Well, then who can be saved? Yahweh Shah beheld them and said unto them, With men it is impossible, but with Elohim all things are possible.
Mm-hmm.
Then answered Peter and said to him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee. What shall we have therefore? Yahweh Shah said unto him, unto all of them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me, in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit on the throne of his glory, ye shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. And every one that has forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life.
Mm.
But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he ends it. But that isn't how he ends it. That's how, chapter 19 ends. When you go into chapter 20, he goes ahead and breaks down a parable. Like right now, he's just talking. He's using this interaction as a talking point and a teaching point for, the people that are around him. And he's, they're just having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
He uses it to break down unto the masses, and he speaks in parable form, and to illustrate how the kingdom is gonna be. But before we go there, let's just talk about Matthew 19 and 16 through 30. It's the quote unquote what rich young ruler, right?
Yeah, that's what they all refer. Everybody refers to that as the rich young ruler. Rick the ruler. It's Rick the ruler.
It's Rick the ruler. This is Rick the ruler. He got the gold chain. He got
Think about that, Rick the Ruler.
Right.
That was good because he did. He had the big gold chains. He had the eye patch, meaning he was sort of, distinguished. He had all the money. He came from overseas. Rick the
Exactly.
Ruler hailed from where? Europe, someplace, London or whatever, had the little
Right.
accent going on.
So this is what's going on. This is, and let's talk about it metaphorically.
Okay.
Because and the reason I say this is because we have to be able to um uh, input ourselves into the story, you know.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's find common denominators that we can that we can familiarize ourselves
Yeah.
with
We got to be able to see ourselves in it.
with each character.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the rich young ruler, that's a mindset.
Mm-hmm.
These are the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
This is, this, and then he's a religious fellow.
Mm-hmm.
Quite obvious, because he says, yeah, I've been doing this since a kid. Like,
Yes.
you're telling me to do this and you're telling me to do that. These are part of the 10, speaking on commandments. These are part of the 10 commandments per se. And I have this down, and I've been doing this since a child. Like, this is how I grew up. This is what I'm about. And he's like, yeah, but you have to take it a step further. So and then what does he tell? How does he tell him to take it a step further? You have to give up everything that you identify with, everything that you are, everything that you have, and you have to come follow me.
Mm.
So, but really, what does that entail? That entails your comfort zone. That entails your house, your father's house, your lineage and heritage's way of life.
Say that. Try that again.
Heritage's way of life. Your culture. You have to give up what you have going on in your social circumference, and you have to come into my culture and into my social circumference and get down with me the way we get down over here. You can't bring in what you think your righteousness is. That's self-righteousness. You lay all that down, go give it to the poor, and come around here and mold and conform and basically convert to my way of thought. This is what he's saying. And he's like, well, I can't do that because I have
I've got far too much to
I have apples on my cart. Have you seen my cart? I have apples.
You seen my apple cart?
Yes, I have apples on deck. Like, there's like I have apples for days on. There's so many apples on my cart. Are you like, I can't do this.
I can't get rid of this. Are you kidding me?
So
that's a lot of apples. That's the trip. Okay, go ahead.
But check it. He is he's of the ruling class. He's of ruling society. So what mindset? What is the paradigm that rules this quote unquote globe, this world, the structure? It's
mammon, all money.
It's all colonialism.
All of it.
It's all a certain. It's westernized society. It's westernized society that rule that So Mammon is from the West, apparently, because he runs the show around these parts. So we are steeped, us, everybody in earshot today, right now, we are steeped in these concepts, in this way of life, and we have to give it up.
Ronnie, I want to say this because it feels like sometimes when we go through these, when we go through these quote unquote idioms or things that we all thought we knew, it feels like we've got the hammer and we're just cracking and dispelling all of these myths. It's almost like Thor going through a hall of mirrors, as it were, and just crashing until you get down to the real thing. And I think I liken it to that because you feel like, hey, these are things that I thought I knew. I thought I saw. When I saw that, I thought that I really saw what I thought I was looking at. And so it's like once you start to unpack the word, you really truly begin to see the truth. You see the truth. And then the part that remained after that truth has been revealed, you begin to say, I want nothing to do with that. Whatever is on the ground, you know what I mean? It's like the shattered glass. I don't want nothing to do with that, but I do want this true reflection that I really do see right now. This is the truth. So it just makes you really that much more.
This is a hammer that is
Yeah, this
smashing
is like
the
Thor.
status. Exactly.
Hey, how you doing there? I see you, Charlie Sigler. How are you today? And Rachel Van Ziel is in now. Ronnie, she joined us a few minutes back. So hello, Rachel and Anthony Van Zant. Thank you all for being here. Yeah, so it is. It's like just crashing it all up. But I love the way that the Father allows it, that Yah allows it to be shown, because I believe that right now everybody has been so disenchanted with the lies that are just promulgated throughout the world, period, that now when we're looking at truth, we are taking it for what it is. This is a great time for us to just take all of the seaweed off of the beautiful pearls. It's time to just take all that stuff and just get down to it. So this is good. This is good, because I'm glad I said that scripture yesterday, because you're explaining it now and I didn't get it. I'm getting it now though.
So yeah, then and there's more to get. Just stay, stay with us.
Yeah, just hang out and be quiet, Felicia. Okay, I got you.
There's more to get.
There's more to get. More to get. Got. Go.
But so many of us are living in a privileged lifestyle, in a privileged vantage point in society. And
let's not use the word privilege, because people take that word wrong nowadays. They just made it so dirty. But I know what you mean. I think you're saying, you know what, being in this particular culture, we've been so accustomed to having all the things that we needed so readily available. But that word privilege now is just taking such a bad beat down.
Take it how you will. There is a ruling class that has structured the world in a certain fashion.
Now this is true. This is true. Can't argue this.
And there is a people are at the buffet table with it, and other people are secondary class citizens.
Yeah, like Soylent Green. I just watched that for the 5th time last night. So yeah, I get it. Yeah.
That is the rich young ruler, metaphorically.
Yes.
And if you enjoy that, this scripture is talking to you, because you have been in the pew your whole life, and you've never committed adultery, you've never committed murder, you don't steal, you don't lie on people, you know what I mean? You love everyone equally, and you still are not going to make it into the kingdom. You have to give up your way. You have to give up your way. You have to give up your father's way.
So that would actually be the person who's been cultured all their life. They've had culture. They've been taught the best way possible. Money's been spent on them from their birth. They were born with the silver spoon in their mouth. They had all the education they ever needed. They, they have the superfluity of speech, as Paul would say. They can do all of those things. But the one thing that they have been taught to love and admire, which is their money, which is their wealth, which is, as you say, their privilege,
their status.
Their status. Yeah, let's use that status quo, their status. That one thing that makes them who they thought they were, they cannot get rid of it, and they won't, because, well, without that, who are they? And I think that's the real question. If you don't want to let go of all the stuff you've amassed, who are you? What are you without it is your question. So he's trying to share with his cat, look, you say basically what he was trying to do was add Yahweh Shah on the list of all the stuff that he had.
Right.
Think about that.
Right. And he's like, yo, I'm not on that list. I'm a separate list entirely. You have to throw your list away and then come over here, and I'm not going to be on your list. You're going to be on my list. That's what Yahweh Shah is saying.
Okay, well, I've got to get the rest of this. I'm gonna shut up. I want to listen to this, because that's rich.
And I hate to go way off topic in a whole other lane, but I just want to shout out and I'm sorry, but I want to shout out Van Zant. He was an excellent guest.
Oh man, if you guys that are in the chat or that are listening by replay have not seen The Anthony Van Zant video, his interview on his praise report last Friday, is a blessing. It is climbing in the numbers. They are messing with the numbers, but it's been so riveting that now they're at the point where they can't even mess with his numbers now. The numbers were going up and then they were going back down. They were going up and then they were going back way down. But now the numbers are soaring. And that's because it's a good word. It's a good message. What you'll notice on that video is that there is some interference in his audio, and that's not by accident. That happens every time he's live with me, and possibly anyone else, because of the fact that the message that he's had to give is so outstanding, and it's thought provoking. It is thought provoking. Here is a man who, while homeless, has enough fortitude to plan his day, and it was all geared toward getting his chops back, getting the word out, helping other people. Everything that he did was all geared toward kingdom business. It really was. And so his testimony is up now. It's live. It's the last Friday night praise report that we did. And I want to tell you exactly what Rachel Van Ziel is saying here, exactly what Ronnie.d.Mann is saying. Excellent testimony. Awesome. So go on, listen to that. You'll hear some of the music. He has a playlist here as well on the Lockhart Perspective. And I just want to tell him thank you. And Ronnie.d.Mann, listen, we both just say thank you, because that was off the chain. You're right, Ronnie. That was off the chain.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate to break away from the topic, but yeah.
Yeah, well, if you can get honor at home, where can you get it? Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Moving forward, because this is vital info.
Yeah,
and there's misconceptions, and we have to really we got to do away with it. Because what is it? Oh, it's or it doesn't matter how we think, because we all have a certain viewpoint that is tweaked to everybody's different lifestyle, everybody's perspective. But what does the context actually mean is the crux of what we're doing here. So he's speaking in Matthew 19 about how like I said, he's using this as a teaching point. So this ruling class aficionado came through like I have it down pat, and he's like, yeah, you're doing well, but step up your game and actually come follow me into the kingdom. And this is how you do it. You leave all the baggage behind, and then you gain treasure in the heavenly storehouse, and then you enter through the door. And then he goes on to say that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So let's go on to Matthew 20.
It's on the screen.
Okay, so he immediately goes into a parable. He's in teaching mode now. Look, for the kingdom of heaven is like unto a man that is a householder. So first and foremost, all his parables, okay, maybe not all, but like 99.89% of his parables, more high probability than that, are he's illustrating the kingdom of either Elohim or the kingdom of heaven, which is one of the same. And he's always preparing you for the kingdom. So he used that interaction. Now he's about to prepare you for the kingdom, and he's showing you how kingdom citizenship is, and how to get your mindset and prepared for that. For the kingdom of heaven, verse 1, Matthew 20, is like unto a man that is a householder, which went out early in the morning and to hire laborers into his vineyard. When he had agreed with the laborers for a penny a day, he sent them out into his vineyard. And he went out about the third hour, saw others standing idle in the marketplace, and he said unto them, go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right I will give you. And they went their way. Again he went out about the sixth and then the ninth hour, and did likewise. And about the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle, and he said unto them, Why stand ye here all the day idle? And they said unto him, Because no man has hired us. And he said unto them, Go ye also into the vineyard, and whatsoever is right, that shall ye receive. So when even came, the Lord of the vineyard said unto his steward, Call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. And when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should receive more, and they likewise received every man a penny. And when they had received it, they murmured against the good man of the house, saying, These last have wrought but 1 hour, and thou hast made them equal unto us. But we have borne the burden of the heat of the day. But he answered unto them and said, Friend, I do thee no wrong. Did not thou agree with me for a penny? Take that thine is, and go thy way. I will give unto this last, even as I unto thee. Is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? Is thine eye evil because I am good? So the last shall be first, and the first last, for many are called, but few chosen. I hope that was interesting, just reading it in and of itself. So when we read it, we're looking and we're saying, and what we're seeing here is that the kingdom of heaven is like a vineyard where people are laboring all day, and he goes out various times. If you look, he goes out the 3rd hour, the 6th hour, the 9th hour, and you would think that he goes out the 12th hour, but he doesn't. He goes out the 11th hour. So this is all metaphor for the last day entirely, and for the just the field in general. 6 o'clock a.m. What we consider 6 o'clock a.m. That's the 1st hour. So the 3rd hour would be 9. Then he went out the 6th hour. That'll be 12.
Okay.
And he went out the 9th hour. That'll be 3. So 6 o'clock would be the 12th hour. But he went out at about 5 o'clock. He went out at about 5 o'clock because he didn't come at because this is a 12-hour interval, basically.
Correct. It is. Yeah.
And
you just slice the clock right in half from the 9 to the 3.
So this is the day where we are supposed to be laboring, and he's coming, like metaphorically, he's saying that he's coming at 12 o'clock. Or I'm sorry, he's coming at 6 p.m. per se. He's coming at the 12th hour. He's coming at the 12th hour, and when he comes, it's going to be a wrap. So he's making one last final call on the 11th hour. Because when he comes at 12, it's payday.
Yeah.
And whatever you reap, you're going to sow.
I always look at payday.
I'm sorry. Whatever you sow, you're going to reap.
And I've always looked at payday as the type of mindset that is, no matter what it is you paid, no matter what work you've done, you're going to get it back. So if you've done good work, you're going to get paid for that. Conversely, if you've done bad work, you're going to get paid for that, because it all has a payday. Every single thing has a day that you will receive whatever you've done. It's the same way it is in standard labor. If you work for 2 weeks and your paycheck is every 2 weeks, well, for the hours you put in, you'll get money for that if all things are equal. Conversely, it's the exact same way when it comes to deeds, both good and bad. When it comes to deeds of the heart, both good and bad. A lot of people think that the deeds you do are specific to your hands and your feet, but it's also the deeds in your heart, because that's what motivates that hand and that foot to go to, to bad things, to go and live a bad life. And we're not really talking about what man typically sees as quote unquote bad or good. We're talking about those foundational things that can harden your heart into a place to where you are separated from the Father. That's what I'm referring to. And so these are very good and standard, very valid points. But I think that for us, especially in this nation, being that, right now we are at that place. And I want to thank the 17 folks who have put your thumb up. Thank you so much. Just looking at our nation right here, even though we're going through the things that we go through right now, we're still not on our knees. And we're still not to the place where we understand that this is a judgment. We still have enough luxuries for us to say, well, I'm still doing okay. I'm still doing okay. You got a bandage around your head. Your car ain't got but $2 worth of gas in it, and as long as you can get down get up the road to get where you need to get and get back home, you're safe. That's how you feel. But the sad part is none of us have gotten to that place. Some have, some haven't. Whatever is more applicable, you accept. Some of us have not gotten to the place where we understand that the stuff that we have does not mean a hill of beans when you consider what you could lose for holding on to that stuff. There are no old phrase, old idiom people use that they've never seen a U-Haul truck following behind a hearse. Well, all that's true, but we never stopped to even think of that, and that's an idiom that we use. So what is it that would prevent you from following him? What is your whatsoever thing you need to set aside? What is it? At what point do we just stop and let him have his way and succumb to our will to his? We keep trying to figure this whole thing out ourselves. And I think that's a problem. We keep trying to figure it out ourselves. And we don't understand. It's so simple. Just like the feast days, once you get into them, they're so simple. We keep trying to figure it out ourselves. Just like the rich young ruler who walked away with his head in shame because he had been taught that it was in the wealth, that it was in the stuff. And the truth is, it's in the charity that you show. Give it all up, follow him. But when you give it all up, you bless the less fortunate in this case, if you look at it just for face value. Now, if you're looking at it in the metaphoric side, obviously it would be more and much deeper. But he couldn't even do that. Because he had been taught that his wealth is what made him, has separated the big dogs from the puppies on the porch. What is it going to take for America to get to the point to where we finally do see that we do need a true, unadulterated savior? What is it going to take? I don't know. I don't really know. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Yeah. As far as charity goes, when he told him to give it to the poor, it had nothing to do with charity. He was telling him give it to somebody else. It's the same concept when he tells somebody else to follow him, and they're like, yeah, but I got to go bury my father real quick, and he's like, let the dead bury the dead. In other words, like what he's saying is that all that stuff, give it to somebody else who's not, who's going to need it. Not so much from the charity aspect, but from you don't need it. You're following me and you're going to gain a whole different, inheritance. So it's don't have the heart when you're doing this. You're not doing it for the heart to be charitable to the, quote unquote, less fortunate or what have you. You're doing it so you can gain access into the kingdom. That is the first and foremost mindset. And that is what he was trying to explain to this guy, or, to this quote unquote rich young ruler, is that you're at an advantage in this life. And you think that you're sitting pretty because you're religious, and you're not. You need to give it all up. You need to give it all up. You need to give it all up and come follow me. You have to give it all up and come follow me. Yeah, but my dad's been doing this for, he's given me a whole entire business. You have to give it all up and come follow him, because we're supposed to be about the Father's business, not your dad's business, your Father's business. So we really have to give it all up and go follow a Hebrew that's walking around in the wilderness.
I like the way you put that. Okay, where else do you want us to go right now?
No, we're staying here at Matthew 20.
Okay,
because what's going on is this is the field. This is the timeline of the world, and the 12th hour is the end of the end of the world. And he's coming at the 11th hour to gain a whole bunch of other people.
That's sweet.
To come on into the vineyard.
Yeah, that's sweet.
and be a worker. Because what does he say? He's explaining off top that this is the kingdom of heaven. So he's using physical, things that we do on a day to day to get us to understand a spiritual concept. And what he's saying is that he has grabbed people since the beginning to do his work in his vineyard, and he's gonna do that periodically. Is it all the way up until the 11th hour? He's gonna give everybody one last shot. Everybody who didn't make it into the vineyard, he's going to give you one last shot at the 11th hour. And I'm being very blunt. We are in the 11th hour right now. This is the 11th hour. We are in the 11th hour, and you need to hurry up and give up your baggage and go into the vineyard and do the work. Because what's interesting is they're in the marketplace. Verse 6, it says, the 11th hour he went out and found others standing idle. Why are you standing here? But he was going out into the marketplace. So the marketplace, you're really not standing idle, you're doing stuff. But in the spiritual sense, you're idle. You're not being productive spiritually. You're being productive. Your transactions, your day to day. Are you making? Are you in the black? Are you in the red? That type of thing. Economics, but in the spiritual sense, you're idle. And he's saying you're standing around idle. However, he's going to the marketplace. There's nobody idle in the marketplace. It's busy in the marketplace. So he's saying, hey, let me take you, and then you can do the work. And this is the 11th hour that he's grabbing a whole bunch of people to do the work. And then that's basically the last call before 12 o'clock hits. Because and if you ask me, it's 11:59. If you ask me, it's the 11th hour, but it feels like it's 11:59. So, and if it's not, it's like 11:58 in like 30 seconds. That's what time it is. That's how late in the day it is. So, we're coming into the 11th hour, and then now it's payday. So this is the reward that you get.
Okay.
This is basically judgment day now. The 12th hour is judgment day, and you will be rewarded either, righteousness or condemnation. Which one is it going to be? Now his workers, they all gain righteousness. But the people that's been there since 6 a.m. in the morning, they're getting a penny. And the person that just got there an hour ago at 11:50, at the 11th hour, they're getting the same penny.
Right.
And they're like, hey, man, I've been here all day and I get a penny, and this guy just got here and he gets a penny.
Yeah, they're looking like, how is that right? I would hope that they're not even having that mindset at that juncture in the walk, because that's, you know what I'm saying? It's like, but it's the truth. It's just sad to know that even at that point, at the 11th hour, at 11:49, 11:59, that they would even have that opportunity to have that mindset. That's the sad piece. You know what I mean? Wretch saved by grace. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. Yeah, that's sad. Yeah.
So let's look at, let's not go there, but let's consider these other parables, because all of these things go together. Everything that he says, and I'm talking about quote unquote Old Testament to quote unquote New Testament, they are all intertwined, interconnected, very cohesively, skillfully even
placed.
And they're saying the same thing, and they're giving the same thing and saying the same things
Absolutely.
over and over again. So these other parables, he's saying things like let me see here.
As you think of that, I'm just going to say this. The last shall be first, the first shall be last, or however we put it. I think that, we've all had in our lifetime some really unbelievable sermons that, back, like Baptist churches or whatnot. I'm using that as an example. They will roll around on the floor with that. Oh, you're going to be first. You see that? You're going to be first. You were last this day, but you're going to be first. But it's the matter of the heart that really has to gain that understanding of the rich young ruler. It is the matter of the heart. We keep going back to that term. I know that Sonia one day was talking about matter of the heart. And it is all the matter of the heart. And that is what he's looking at. He's looking at that because our heart is what actually motivates our movements. And I know I said that a few seconds ago as I'm rephrasing it, but this is important to gather. The last shall be first, but first for what? It's a whole lot more than, I'm going to be doing this and I'm downtrodden now, but I'm going to be first. No, you got to put in some work. We got to, and I think a lot of times we're not necessarily even taught that it's the work that we got to do. We want to believe that it's not by works, lest any man should boast. And I get that, but you still got to do something. There's something that all of us have to do. Welcome to those. Yes. Welcome to those who've just come in the chat. I see our numbers have changed and I want to thank you, even though I know you may not be able to chat. I want to thank you so much for coming in. We are right now looking at the last shall be first and the first shall be last. And our scriptural text is coming from Matthew 20. And we also had Matthew 19. Also, Jeremiah, we're going to be coming back upon that. And our guest today is Ronnie.d.Mann. I want to thank you all in advance for sharing this out. This is really the only place you guys are going to hear me ask you to share something. Even though there are other channels that that I work with and that I help out, this is the only place you're really going to hear me ask you to share it out. And the reason why is if you're here right now, you are a part of the end times, and this is a part of our work to get the truth and the word out. This right here is the work. And I want to thank all of you guys for coming in. So please share this out. Please, get people involved with some of the playlists because this is the work. This is the work. Retraining all of us at the 11th hour, getting all of our minds onto the right way the Father has for us is unbelievable. Inger Norman, thank you so much for coming in. You see what I mean? So getting us all back the way that we were supposed to be so that we would be just well enough to get in. You know what I'm saying? Because only a few are making it in. And I think you guys can all see as the days grow where that is so much, that has so much validity as we all grow. We're amazed at some of the things that are going on around us. And I truly and honestly believe that in that amazement, we now see that the heat should be up under our tails to get us to really get out and tell people what the truth is. And you can do it gently. Just share a video. And it's not even about whether or not people become a subscriber here. That's not what I'm about. I want the people's hearts and their lives to change because it's really rough just living a daily life. But this truth, which has been withheld because of the way that we were taught, is so imperative. It is so imperative, you all. And again, I always tell people, take the scripture texts and study them on your own. Don't believe anybody you hear, but just study it and be taught and led by the Ruach. Because if that happens, then I know, once it's planted in your heart, that truth won't go away. No one will be able to sway you. And that's what I want everybody to get. So please share it out, give it to friends and families, share out the playlists. And we appreciate you. We are now at approximately 48 minutes and 30 seconds into this 1 hour. I want to thank Ronnie.d.Mann for being here with us. And we are going to just go on ahead and pass it back over to him. Go ahead, Ronnie. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So when we look at these other parables, we see where Yahushua is teaching how, there was a wedding banquet and the master wanted certain people to come, but they were too busy. Then he went out and grabbed, a couple of other certain people, and instead, they got annoyed, and then they end up beating the people, beating the servants and the messengers up. And then he was like, "Well, I'll just send out my son, and then go grab them up, that way, because surely they'll respect my son." And they messed around and killed his son for coming. He's like, "Look, didn't I tell you I'm too busy?" And then they killed his son. So he went and put a decree out the master that was giving the feast
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
went out and put a decree out. Well, look, just go out and just grab anybody and
Mm.
tell them to come in.
Mm.
This is in relationship with the parable of the vineyard workers.
Okay.
The
Okay.
third hour, the sixth hour, the ninth
Mm-hmm.
hour, the 11th hour. At the
Mm-hmm.
11th hour, he's just grabbing anybody who remains.
Yeah.
You want a job? Okay,
Mm.
come on around here.
Mm. Mm.
You need a
Mm.
job? All
That's
right, come
heavy.
around here. So he's getting anybody, that you were not initially on the VIP list,
Mm.
but he has considered, okay, I mean, what did he say? He said that the harvest is plenty, but the workers, the laborers are few.
Mm.
So
Mm. Mm.
he is a good steward over, he's the householder. So he's a good steward over the vineyard. He's going to make sure that he's going out to go get some laborers.
Mm.
And at the 11th hour, he didn't get a lot of the people that were qualified for the job.
Mm-hmm.
So he just put out an all points bulletin. Hey,
Mm.
you need something? All right, come
So
on in.
he's taking whoever comes. Let
He's
them come
going
on
to the
in.
highways and the byways,
Mm-hmm.
and he's grabbing up people at the 11th hour.
Mm.
Hey, come on in.
Mm.
Now, when they get there, he's paying them first, and then he pays the people that were there. That this is how he's paying them. He's going from the verse 9, and when they came that were hired about the 11th hour, they received every man a penny. But when the first came, they supposed that they should receive more. So in verse 8, it says, call the laborers and give them their hire, beginning from the last unto the first. So he paid all the highway and byway folks first, and then the people that were there since 6 a.m., they were like, okay, well, shoot, if they got a penny, of course I'm gonna, at least get double, maybe even triple. And when they get their pay, they're only getting the same penny that the ones that came at the 11th hour received. And they started murmuring. This is the equivalent of when our people were out in the wilderness
Yes.
murmuring. And what happened? They got attacked by venomous, poisonous serpents, and most of them died.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's right.
You can't murmur when the good man of the house has decided to, one, give you a job, two, pay you for it with royal decrees, with royal quote unquote money. Like
where they do that at?
Yeah, man. How dare thee?
How dare thee?
It's insulting, and then he lets you know it's insulting. He's like, so you have an evil eye because I'm good. He was like, so I'm doing wrong with my stuff? How am I doing wrong with my stuff? Verse 13, but he answered one of them and said, friend, I do thee no wrong. Did you not agree with me for a penny?
Didn't I hire you for a penny? That was the agreement. Yeah, that was the agreement. It didn't say that if I get more workers and they started a different shift, that it's going to change. No, it's still a penny. A penny is what I hired you for. Wow.
And exactly. And in verse 15, it says, is it not lawful for me to do what I will with mine own? So what he is he's gracious enough, because the penny was good. The penny was good when you got hired on. The penny was great.
You agreed to that shilling. That was yours, a little chunk of change.
And it was excellent. You're like, okay, I'm getting a penny. But he is righteous and awesome enough to consider the people that came in on the highways and the byways, and he gives them an equal share.
And that's the sweet part, that no matter when you come in contact with him, we all get the same. Wow.
And so at the end of verse 19, when he's talking about the I'm sorry, pardon me. At the end of chapter 19, when he's talking about the quote unquote rich young ruler giving up all that he has, he rounds it out and says the first shall be last and the last shall be first. And then when he gives the parable, he says all that talking about pennies. Then he rounds it out with the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Like, what does that have to actually do with everything that he's talking about? What's going on is that everybody is going to be equal in the kingdom. I'm going to say that again. Everybody is going to be equal in the kingdom. No matter if you were on the VIP list, if you are the household of Yasharal, if you are a direct bloodline descendant of Abraham, you are, or if you got snatched up on the highways or the byways, everybody in the kingdom is going to get a penny equally.
And that's the good part. Equal. Say it again.
Everybody is going to get the same penny equally. And it's, we're saying penny, so we think we're just getting a penny, but whatever. But the people that got hired on at 6 o'clock and was going to do and knew that they were going to do a full day's labor, hired on and agreed to a penny. So a penny is a nice chunk of let's just pretend whatever this penny is, it's a nice,
whatever the shilling was, because I know it wasn't right. Yeah, a pence, a little piece of something.
But it's definitely well worth the labor that you put forth.
Right.
And what it says, so it doesn't say that the first shall be last. It says that the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Or it doesn't say the last shall be first. It says the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So what that means is there is no first and there is no last.
Because it's a circle.
There is no last and there is no first. Everybody's equal.
And because because that even reminds me of he's the Alpha Omega. He is Alpha Omega, Alpha Omega, Alpha Omega. Think about that. Let that soak in, you all. He's Alpha Omega. So everything that's in his kingdom is going to rock the same way he does. Everything that's in his kingdom is exactly like he is. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's the same. So because it's like him. Go ahead.
So when we look at these laws in the quote unquote Old Testament or in Torah, it tells you that there's an inheritance that his people get. Then it tells you that then you see that he extends it out to the Gentiles, and that's controversial for some, but he extends it out to the Gentiles and he gives them the same inheritance. He gives them the same exact inheritance.
That's sweet. This is awesome.
The first and their second, the Gentiles were a second thought. They weren't initially supposed to gain any of this. It's a second thought because the laborers are few in the vineyard, and he's going out. And plus, when I came out to get you, you killed my son. You did all kinds of stuff. You threw all my prophets in the trash. You didn't consider what they had to say. So I'm a little bit tight with you, and I'm going to go out and just anybody who will listen to this truth, come on, put on some righteous garments and let's go.
Think about that. I mean, just really, really get it in. Let that soak in. That let me tell you something. I come from a family of nothing but ministers, pastors, preachers, and teachers. Think about that. All of my uncles, all of my first cousins, my grandfather, everybody, all the Lockharts, ministers, preachers, teachers, vocalists, something in the word. But do you know that there's only one of us, two at the most, that understand these concepts? But do you know that even though all of the rest of them that don't know it now, as soon as they come into this truth, they're on board with the two of us that have known it for the longest? So he rewards each and every one of us based on our acknowledgement of him, his truth, his word, and the work we put in. I will not stop talking about the work, because it's not about just chilling. It's once you get this word, how you study it and share it. And that's the work. And you don't have to be a big pastor. You don't have to have, you don't have to be licensed. You don't have to be ordained. You don't have to have any of the paper or the garbage, the stuff that you ain't got to have all that. You do not. You can just share it in a sweet, gentle way in a conversation, because he will afford you the opportunity to share that truth, to get that work in. Get the work in. Get the work in. The time is winding down. Get the work in. Get it in. Tell the truth. Any nugget you feel confident with, when it's the appropriate time, The Ruach will let you know when that time is. Okay? Share that. Thank you for that, Ronnie. Go ahead.
So when this is the thing, when we're doing the work, and we actually take the call to do the work, he's taking us out of the marketplace and putting us into his vineyard. So that lets you know that there's a totally different work that you are to do. You're doing one work in the marketplace, and then he's putting you into the vineyard and you're doing his work. So this is the thing. These people that are coming in as a second thought, it's okay in the scheme of things, because you're going to get the same inheritance. You're going to get the same pay. However, you have to lay down. We have a rich young ruler mindset. We have to give up the marketplace, and we have to go and do his. When we go into the vineyard, there are certain rules and regulations in the vineyard, and we have to abide by those. We can't bring in what we did at our last job in all of the culture and all of the ways and all of the things that we learned, and then expect that to fly in his vineyard. We have to lay it down and give it away, and we have to go into a different mentality, a different mode, and do what he requires us to do. And it is completely contrary to the westernized marketplace that has been embedded in all of us. I hope you're understanding the metaphor that I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we think that we can come into the kingdom with a Christian mindset, with a churchianity mindset.
It's impossible.
It's not going to happen. It's going to get burnt off of you. He's an all-consuming fire, and that is going to get burnt off. And he's like, I didn't do any of these. These are traditions of men, and no flesh enters into the kingdom.
You know what, Ronnie? I had to actually, a few years ago, I had to go back and I had to study the origins of said word, Christianity. I literally had to study it. And I'm not saying that everybody has to, but I did. And that is the reason why I separated myself from the whole phrase. Because what I began to learn is that is a man-made term. And that when you start to follow that man-made term, you end up being led away from what Yah has taught us or has laid down for us, the liberty that he gave us in following things his way. It's just like anything else. It's just like a car, a car dealership. A car dealership says, this is the kind of oil, this is the kind of gas, and if you're going to do X, Y, or Z, this is what needs to be done. And then you say, it's just a car. It's a car. So it's not a Ford, it's not a Subaru, it's not this, it's just a car. So I'm going to treat this car the same way that I did all these other cars. No, each thing is specific to the manufacturer. Each thing is specific to the manufacturer. Will it go if you put, 89 in a car that's supposed to have, 92 octane? For a minute, it will. It'll give you some trouble. There'll be some sputtering. There'll be some issues. It'll go for a moment. But will it have the longevity that it was created to have? No. Will it function to the perfection in which it was created to function? No. It's the same exact thing. So when I began to understand why not Christianity, I personally began to see his truths laid out before me. Now, it's not to say that I don't have family or friends. I just told you I come from a whole long line of pastors, ministers, preachers, teachers. A lot of them still hold on to that. But a lot of them are doing a lot of things that ought not be done when it comes to their physical period. And so when you consider that, you have to say, well, what's the difference? The difference is the difference between truth and a half truth. So what I was getting when I was in that was half truths. Why? Because those who had taught me, the money that I had spent to be taught or trained was all based on a Roman mindset of teaching. And that is what I struggled with the hardest for letting that go. It was very difficult. There are some who've been taught specifically by the Ruach. They had it far easier than I did walking into this walk. Those of us who have gone and have been taught and all this other stuff, very, very difficult. And again, you all know part of my testimony is that I went through several different paths before coming to the truth. But here's how sweet Yah is. When I got into the truth, everything he taught me, ironically, while I was a quote Christian, was the foundation for me digging in and learning what I now know and am learning every day. It's not too late. If you are like me, then I'm going to recommend that you simply stop, shut out everybody around you, ask him to show you him. When you do that, he is so awesome. He will begin to teach you. He will begin to show you. You will begin to be led by the Ruach HaKodesh because that's the way he created it. Now you have the owner's manual, and now you can start from what the owner's manual is telling you. This is what I'm teaching you. Now, if you're here and you're listening and you get it and you're not a psyop or a spy, then you are going to love what he puts in you. Now, if you're just here to just glance and look and then run back and, put it a different way in your own words and say, well, they're wrong because, woe unto you. Woe unto you. I'm going to just leave that there. Okay. So I implore you to just ask him the question. I think a lot of times what was my frustration in my life was asking him for certain things and not thinking he knew what I needed. Full transparency. I'll use dating as an example after being married and then divorced. A lot of women say, I have this list. This is what I want. So this is my list, but let your will be done according to my list. Then you get what's on your list and you're sad, disheartened, and you don't get it because you didn't just tell him, let your perfect work be done in me. When you say that, he will teach you. He will show you. Don't trust any human being. Trust him. Be led by the Ruach, the way that he sends you and teaches you and allows you to bump up against things and information. Be led, but don't listen to the people. Listen to him and him alone through his word. Thank you for allowing me to share that, Ronnie.
Yeah, well, it's no coincidence that he decided to give this parable based on his interaction with a rich young, quote unquote, rich young ruler. We can't be arrogant and haughty enough to think that we can gain access to what he has going on while keeping what we have going on. We can't. We have to let it all go. It's the equivalent of the bringing in the employee. You're working for one institution, and then you bring in the employee handbook into the vineyard, and you're trying to do rules and regulations based on your old employer's handbook. That's not going to fly. You throw the handbook away.
Yeah, throw that away.
It's an entirely different thing. And one of those things in the handbook says that, we're under a new dispensation, and, in our current handbook, and, we don't need, and a lot of things that the old says doesn't apply. But when we get into the vineyard, all that still applies. But we've been so trained and we heavily guard it with attitude, even to think a certain way. So when even the master of the house is telling you to let it go, it's hard for you to let it go. But you are a worker in his vineyard. There are rules and regulations, and we can't use the old employee handbook.
Well, you're in my neck of the woods now dealing with employees and stuff like that. And I'll tell you that I have counseled several employees who've come, their managers may have sent them, or, they've now maxed out all of their conversations they could ever have with their manager because they're just not getting it. So by the time they get to my desk and I'm sitting there with the manager, the question is, well, then why are you having such a hard time? Can you share with us what is so hard about understanding the way that she needs it or he needs it or the company requires it? Well, because I've been doing this for X amount of years. I've been doing XYZ for several years, and this has always worked. And this is how we always did it back where I came from. And that's just how I am. Here is the problem with that theory, sir or madam. While you are here, that won't work because the handbook that you signed onto has nothing to do with your former employer's handbook. The handbook that you've signed onto says X. And in order for you to rock this, you got to do X in order to keep the job that you have.
But
now,
we did Y, but we've been doing Y at the other job.
Well, and why aren't you at Y anymore? There was a reason why you left Y. You left Y because there was something there that why did you leave Y? Let me ask you that question. Why did you leave Y?
There's better opportunities here. And, Y wasn't just working out for me anymore.
Okay, it just wasn't working out for you. Was there something in their core that you didn't agree with? I know when I look back on your documents here, it says that their core value wasn't in line with yours. Well, tell me about that. What does that mean?
I need more. They give milk for lunch. I need.
And you're a steak guy. Is that it?
I want a steak every now and again.
Okay, so the steak that we offer here, it's a good steak?
Oh, it's an excellent steak.
Okay, so here is the deal. In order for you to continue to abide with the steak, you have to do what is required to receive the steak. And in order for you to be a part of this, you're going to have to comply with truth. And the truth that we have is based on our manual. But the manual comes down from the top down to the bottom. Apparently, the top that you were with before was a little askewed, was not necessarily in line with truth. And everything falls from the top down. So in this case, we're going to have to ask you to just get in line with the truth. And you can check this out. Our stuff has all been tested and it's all been truth. And it's all gone back through history. We've crossed all of the T's and we've dotted all the I's so you don't have to. We just need you to follow the truth. And this is what I want you to do. Take this new handbook. I'm going to give you the handbook all over again. I know we sent you a digital copy. Take this handbook, go back to the house, sit down and highlight everything. And once you've highlighted everything and you understand it, then I think you'll see why we need you to do this for your safety and for yourself. You see, a lot of times when we would get people that would come in and they would be like, this is how we used to do it. You find that is the juxtaposition with people who are in faith or people who are allegedly Christians or people who are allegedly walking in truth. The problem is they never want to let that sacred cow go. It didn't work for them there. And now they're here and they're trying to take what did not work there and fit it into this because it's comfortable. You see, they may have had a pair of shoes that had a little hole at the big toe right up under the bottom. And that hole at the big toe up under the bottom kept scraping the asphalt every time they tried to walk. But they don't care about that. They're comfortable with that. But what you're telling them is, hey, if you want some shoes that will never wear out, if you want to be able to continue on and go on, if you want this wine that's just going to keep you in the right way, you need to walk this way. You cannot at the same time say that you want to get into the kingdom and you are holding on to stuff that was taught to you incorrectly. If it does you no good, cut it off, shave it off. It's better for you to get in without some part of you that was hooked onto that old mess than to keep pushing the same exact deadly narrative.
And the thing about that is that you are actually cutting off everything that you know to follow something else that you do not know. It's that yoke that you're unaccustomed to. And you've been accustomed to Rome's yoke. You've been accustomed to the hole in the big at the bottom of the big toe scraping on the asphalt. You've been accustomed to that, but there's a brand new yoke that he is trying to place on you and you're unaccustomed to it. And so it's like you're you don't like it. Like I'm not used to this. Like I have to do this, and I've been doing Christmas my whole life, for example. You know what I mean? And yes. now you're telling
Great
me
example.
Now you're telling me that we can't do Christmas?
That's right. Great
And
example.
so, what kind of yoke is this? This is what's going on. You have to give up your entire culture to follow a Hebrew in the wilderness. The Hebrew in the wilderness isn't doing Christmas.
And why
And
isn't he doing it? Tell us why.
Well, I think the Spirit. I think you should. The Spirit is telling you why. The Spirit is telling you why.
Not to mention the fact that there are a
we can
bevy of
talk about that.
scriptures. Yeah, there are scriptures that talk about it. We talked about the whole thing. Yeah.
But my point being is that you're giving up a whole lot. In actuality, you're giving up you. You're giving up everything. You are giving up yourself that he may live in you. And like, man, seriously, that is a lot. Very understandable. That's everything. The trade-off is significant. You get the same pay as the people that this is for. You get that this was originally for. You get the same inheritance. Because you gave up everything. In chapter 19, at the end of chapter 19, he tells you that you get 100-fold over. If you've given up family, if you've given up friends, if you've given up brother, if you've given up sister, if you've given up mother, father, if you've given up livelihood, if you've given up land, you will get 100-fold. For, he's going to compensate you for this.
Amen. Hallelujah.
We can't skip that over. That's Matthew 9. Let's go back to Matthew 19.
Okay, let's do it. Let's do it.
We read it.
Yeah.
But did you hone in on it? Verse 27 of Matthew 19 said, hey, Peter was like, hey, we've forsaken all and followed you. What shall we therefore have? And he said unto all of them, verily I say to you, that ye which have followed me. So you have to follow him. You can't just think that you're following him. He's walking a very tight rope. He's walking a fine line. He's walking a narrow path of righteousness. He has rules and regulations. It's his Father's employee manual, not the world's. And it looks completely different than the yoke that you have grown accustomed to.
But they shrouded the truth.
If you follow him, say that again.
But in an attempt to shroud it, they attempted to take some of the concepts and stick it there and exchange stuff that you didn't even know was exchanged. Judea Songs is here and she says, Judea says, so glad I found out about the paganism behind these holidays now that I know Yah is not pleased with. Okay. They were so shrouded, and I'm on fire over here, so I'm not gonna even add anymore.
So when you follow Yahweh Shah, it says, hey, Peter's like, yo, we've forsaken everything to follow you, man. And he's like, yeah, but you followed me. Check this out. In verse 28, at the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory, you shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. You think that he's talking to Peter, but Peter was talking about, hey, we've forsaken all and followed you. And then verse 28 says he said to them, he's speaking to everybody. And then he closes it out and says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Everybody's going to get the same inheritance. So you will be sitting on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Yasharal. Everyone that has forsaken houses, that has forsaken brethren or sisters or father or mother or wife or children or lands for my sake, give up your nation to get in tune with his nation.
Come on now.
You've done this? Oh, wow. For my name's sake? Oh, wow. You shall receive 100-fold and inherit everlasting life. You can't get, like, man, the perks and benefits, the benefit package is incredible, is
insane. Amazing. It's bananas. The benefits package is bananas. Woo!
You give it all of this?
Oh.
Okay, don't worry about it.
I'm about to run.
You know
I'm about to run.
Your per diem is on Smash.
I'm about to run.
Like, this is, I'm telling you. That
give it all up here in this world.
But there,
Ooh.
there are responsibilities. Like, you think that he's really going to give you that if you're not worthy?
Mm,
Like, you can't bring the old manual to, you know, to the boardroom. You have to,
mm,
you have to read his manual and understand how he wants you to play,
mm-hmm,
in the kingdom, how he wants you to
mm-hmm,
play it. There's a play by play, and he wants you to execute it accordingly, because if you are going to sit on a throne judging, you have to be on point.
mm,
And
mm.
you have to be worthy. You have to be
Ooh,
worthy of this.
hallelujah.
He's not just
Glory.
going to give this to,
Hallelujah. Mm,
old boy down the street.
mm,
He
mm,
will,
mm,
but
mm,
that's if old boy down the street shows himself worthy. He, because it says you have to study to show yourself approved unto your Allahiyam, that you may be a workman who is not ashamed,
mm,
rightly
mm,
dividing the word of truth.
mm, 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 mm.
Like, this is real. This is the real deal, and it's an even playing field.
An
And this
even
is
playing field. Whoa.
for everybody.
Mm,
Whether you were here at 6 a.m. in the morning, or whether you were here at 5 o'clock and everything shuts down at 6 anyway, you just got here and we're all getting the same penny. This is
man.
actually, and see, this is the thing. The people that's been here since 6 o'clock, these are the people,
Yeah.
not the Gentiles. These are the people.
Right.
And a lot of them are murmuring and upset at this.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the parable in Matthew 20,
Mm-hmm.
it says that, so you have an evil eye because I'm good. You're supposed to pluck that out. And if he's telling you to pluck out an evil eye, rest assured that he is going to pluck out the evil
Mm-hmm.
eye. He's not going to tell you to
Mm-hmm.
do something that he's not willing to do himself. And in
Mm-hmm.
verse 16, because I mean, case in point, he says to die to yourself. He
Mm-hmm.
did it.
Come on. Come on.
He did it.
Come on.
He's not going to expect anything out of you that he wouldn't have done himself.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be worthy for the call. And then he says, for the first shall be last and the last shall be first. So that means everybody gets an even, it's all an even playing field. Then it further says, many are called, but few are chosen. So you keep on murmuring, you were called, but you're not going to be chosen. You're murmuring.
You keep on yapping. You just keep on now. You could just imagine somebody's mama. Keep on now.
Yeah, but listen to the what what it indicates that this is heavy stuff for the one who was called from the highway and the byway.
Mm-hmm.
You have an obligation. Like, this is heavy. The implications are outstanding. Like, there is a responsibility level to this. Because some of the people that's been there since 6 a.m. are getting booted out because they're frustrated that you even have a shot.
And now they're showing their real things. They're showing who they really are.
And so you need to be exceptionally, overtly worthy of this call. You have to be above reproach.
This
is
right.
Come in here, with an arrogant attitude, thinking that you can keep your Americanisms or your Westernisms. You got to give it up and figure out what these Hebraisms are and these Easternisms are, because that's the culture. That's the culture.
That's right, and that's the part that I think Rome has been so successful in. If I give them any accolades at all, it would be their craftiness and taking everything that was, from this, mindset and pushing everything to the westernized mindset or to the Romanized mindset, and then just sprinkling in a little bit of truth. And the reason why I ask you to, to say, well, what is it? Well, we were talking about the holidays or whatever, is because, as you made a great point a few weeks back, when we began to do the study on the feast days in Leviticus 23, it became so evident, because every single time there is a feast day that we should be focused on, they threw us a shiny bauble. And like I said before, we get so attracted to the ferret syndrome. Everything that's shiny, we go with it. They gave us all of these things. And every single one of the feast days, there is a pagan date that is lined up with it. And sometimes I wish we'd stop using the word paganism and call it exactly what it is. Because what are pagans? Wiccas, what is that? You have to do the math, I'm sure. But listen, we have been trained by the opposition. And then we get so indoctrinated with what the opposition has trained us to that we now have become Stockholm people. We just got Stockholm syndrome. All of us have Stockholm syndrome. We just don't want to let it go. We see that we can read the truth. And I'm a little on fire right now because that's what I want to say. Somebody can show you the truth. You can read truth. Rightly dividing the word of truth. You begin to rightly divide it. You sit right here, you listen, and then you walk right away and leave your inheritance behind you. You just gleaned your inheritance. You just got the answer to why. And you leave it on the cutting room floor and you walk away with a Christmas bulb. You walk away not understanding why the sukkah. You walk away with not understanding the significance of the sukkah as it relates to Revelation, when they all coming up out the pit and how they've all been given a command not to touch anything that is green, that is growing. You walk right into it. So what am I telling you? If you hold on to Rome, you're going to get everything that Rome designed to give you. If you hold on to Rome, you're going to burn with Rome. Let it go.
Everything that Rome has coming.
Everything that Rome has coming, you're going to take it. So hold on to Christmas. Hold on to Easter. Continue in your mind to juxtapose this mindset to the Jehovah's Witnesses that bug you on Saturday and Sunday. Continue to keep that in alignment and not go for the truth. Continue to walk that way. And everything that they got coming, you're going to take it right along with you. Think it not strange that you're here. Think it not strange that you're hearing these scriptures. Think it not strange that you heard it once before, and here you go again. Somebody else is talking it. Because out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, every word will and shall be established. Don't think it's strange. Grab a hold of this truth and save your soul, and hopefully, possibly your household. Get it together. Get it together. Hold on, Ronnie. Get it together. We had a person yesterday that came right behind and thought exactly the opposite. How could you sit under the truth? How could you sit with the truth? This is not our word. This word belongs to him. It's to save your very soul. You don't see a 501c3 tacked over here. Everybody who's ever blessed over here is because they've been led to bless. You don't see what do I get out of it? This ain't for us. This is for us. So let this word abide in you. Write it close to you. Put it around your neck. Let it touch your heart. Please, please. For someone out there who you are, again, look, this is just how I flow ever since I've been a little kid. I don't know why. I know I don't ask no questions. When it's given to me to give it, I give it. Now, maybe later I'll hear somebody send a letter or send an email or say something that was to me. Well, hallelujah. But if it's for you, if you got them ears and they tuned in, and this the second or third time you done heard this, you better grab a hold of it. Now, go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, so I was just saying that based on what you were saying, and what you're saying is based on what the scripture is saying. But, Revelation, what does Revelation admonish us to do? To come out of her, lest we partake in her sins, lest we partake in her plagues. Come out of her, my people, lest we partake in her sins, lest we partake in her plagues. So we have to come out of her because Rome, Egypt, Babylon, it's all the same thing. Medo Persia, whatever you want to call it. The beast system, it has whatever is coming to it is coming to it. It has its thing coming. And if you are attached to it, you shall partake in her sins and you will partake in her plagues. You have to come out of her. But he doesn't say come out of her, everybody. What is he saying? He's saying come out of her, my people. So everything that is his obeys his voice. Everything, all creation, in one way or another, you're going to obey, whether it be on the back end because hindsight is 2020. You're like, oh my goodness, man, and I missed out, or it's because you chose to. Either way, you're going to do what he has said is going to be done. So it says, "Come out of her, my people." His people will come out of her. Who is her? Mystery Babylon. Like I said, Rome, whatever mindset, the construct that you want to place there, it's this worldly system, this actual physical worldly system that we are living in. Come out of it, because it has what it's due, it has it coming. And we are going to partake if we remain attached. So what's interesting as far as the last shall be first, the first shall be last, these concepts, these two phraseologies come from Matthew 19 and Matthew 20, and he's speaking on, you know, a, a rich guy, a rich guy who has it all and has a religious mindset. Like, yeah, I do these things. I'm pious. So it's not like he's ragtag, like he's just doing whatever he wants to do. He is abiding by what he has learned to be these rules and regulations, the 10. He's abiding by the quote unquote 10. And then we get this first shall be last and this last shall be first rhetoric. But we have to understand that when he's talking about it amongst his peers, when Yahushua is talking about it amongst his disciples in Matthew 19, he's talking about it based on this rich guy coming up to him saying, how do I gain everlasting life? How do I gain the kingdom? And then he goes into the parable version where he's speaking, parabolically in Matthew 20. He says, for the kingdom of heaven is like unto, and then he goes into the parable of the vineyard, and then he rounds it out with the first shall be last and the last shall be first. He's speaking on end times, is my point. So all of this is going to take place in the last day. Just to give us a time frame reference, like we have to be worthy. We're still in the 11th hour. You have to go and do the work in the field to even get this penny, to even get to be first, last, first, equal. You have to go into the field. You have to leave the marketplace and go into the vineyard. It's a must. It's a must. It's a must. And because all of this is going to take place on payday, and payday is judgment day. And then everybody's going to be equal and gain an equal inheritance. So if we go to Jeremiah 31, starting in 31, and we hit this yesterday with the what is the new covenant conversation that we had. The new covenant takes place in the last day. And it says, behold, the days to come. Jeremiah 31 starts off saying, at the same time. What same time? Jeremiah 30 tells you, in the last day, that great and terrible day. So all of this time frame reference is occurring in the last day. Jeremiah 31, starting in 31, says, behold, the days come, says Yah, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Yasharal and with the house of Yahweh, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was a husband unto them, says Yah, but this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Yasharal after those days, says Yah. I will put my law into their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their Elohim, and they shall be Ami, my people. So check it. After those days is when this is going to happen. And we're going to enter into a new covenant with him, a new testimony, a new testament with him. This is after the fact, and it says, "And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yah, for they all shall know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them. This is the first shall be last, and the last shall be first." I want you to understand that this is a part of one of the promises of the new covenant, that everybody is going to be equal, whether you came in at 6 o'clock because you are a blood relative of Abraham himself, or if you came in at 11 o'clock and you got pulled from the highways and the byways. We're all, when it's all said and done, going to know him equally, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, says Yah. And I just want to make that abundantly clear.
I like it. I like it. I like it. So I hope everybody is being blessed by this. I know that I am. Yeah, there's so much I could say, so much that I could add to all of this, but I will just say this. This is the time. Today is the day of salvation. That is what I will always push. Salvation. What is salvation? We've all been taught one way, but I've always asked the question, what are we saved from and what are we saved to? And what does it mean to be under that covering? What is that covering? What time is it? The last shall be first and the first shall be last. This has been an excellent, excellent teaching. I hope that you guys got something out of it. I know that I did. And I'm glad that our guests were with us today, both Ronnie.d.Mann and his beautiful wife, Sonia, the Mann household. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for coming. I appreciate you for being here. Before we close, is there anything else that you'd like to add before we close? We're here at 1 hour and 37 minutes into this excellent teaching. Go ahead, sir.
If I added what I was just thinking.
Go ahead. You know what? Hey, go ahead.
I mean, this is what we were speaking on when we brought up the thinking point and or talking point, when we said the kingdom of heaven is basically a socialist theocracy.
Yeah, and we touched on that.
Shall be first. It's all equal. It's equality. Everybody has the same inheritance, whether you are a stranger and a sojourner or you are, native born. Everybody gets the same inheritance, and that is quite literally socialism. So it's quite literally socialism.
But you know what? And with all just. We said this a few weeks ago, and that is that every time you turn around, there were truths that were being stretched and they were being polluted. And the truths that in this case that are being polluted was the fact that, yes, in the book of Acts, you do see where what is said. Hey, they all took and laid it at the feet of the apostles so that none would suffer lack. We also did a passage where we were talking about Ananias and Sapphira about maybe a month and a half ago, and that was based on the same thing. So when you consider that none suffered lack, both great, both small, no matter what, they all sold everything they had, they put it together, and then they divided it so that none would suffer lack in the camp. Okay? And so now what you're seeing is a very twisted, very manipulative type of way that they are using the word to switch it up and putting it in a world's context. So it makes everybody not have to do anything to get. But see, this is the difference with the Father. Yeah, there's things you got to do. You can't just sit around and be, okay, here you go. There you are. You're not putting in any work, but here you go. Here's $500 a month. Oh, you got 12 kids. Here's $1,000 a month. Oh, what's going on now? Take this, take that. Everybody take. Now, what is that for? Well, it's because there's something that is required if you do X, Y, or Z. But with him, what he's saying is, everyone bought it and laid it at the apostles' feet so that none would suffer lack, so that everybody would be able to do what they needed to do in the kingdom. That is the purpose. But in this case that we're seeing now, we hear the word socialism and it makes us cringe. But the very concept of it comes from the Bible, exactly the same way that we made reference of the rainbow, exactly the same way that we made reference of all of the different references of the holidays, of everything, their holidays. days versus the feast days. They take everything, like we say all the time with the joke that I make. They bite. They never write. They never do anything original. Everything, there's nothing new under the sun, but they take it to a whole nother level. And so this is what we've got to get when we get that understanding. This is what we've got to get. So yes, you're right, Ronnie. It is a socialist mindset, but it is for the kingdom. And they took it and jacked it around.
Yeah, right.
And now you got folk that don't even belong in a particular region taken from those that do. It's not the same, but it is the same, right?
Yeah, and it's just contrary to everything that we've grown to understand. So it's something that is quite interesting to want or try to wrap your head around. But if we really think about it, it is sound. It's sound as far as scripturally. What has just been presented as far as the aspect of what type of society the kingdom is. But with all of this being said, we have to understand the magnitude. The implications are very heavy. With the first being last and the last being first, there is an obligation, there is a responsibility level that is beyond what we can imagine, and it is a heavy. It's not a head. It's a serious load that we undertake. And when we do undertake this, we have to understand the awesomeness of it, because we these things. But really think about it. If we are his body, and he is a king and a priest, and we are quite literally his body, that means we are kings and priests. So when we take this on, we inadvertently gain the kingship. We gain sonship, and the son is the king. So inadvertently, we gain kingship. And if we're his body and he sits on the throne, who do you think is sitting on the throne? We're his body. We are sitting on the throne.
Hallelujah. Yeah, sitting
This
in
is
heavenly
us.
places.
This is us on the throne as him, because we've given our lives up to allow him to live through us. Isn't that right? Isn't that what we profess?
Yes.
So if we profess it, we really have to consider the implications of what we're saying out of our mouths.
Correct.
And then understand that there's a duty and an obligation to be that. And not be that later. We have to be that in the now. So when we get our pay, when we reap what we have sown, we will be found worthy to be able to receive this inheritance. This is crucial thinking. This is particular thinking, but it's crucial and vital in gaining the kingdom and honing in to the pinpoint accurate bullseye per se, target that we have to hit, that we have to hit on. I hope this has been helpful.
Yeah, it's been very helpful. Very, very helpful. And I'm very, very happy that we had the opportunity to clarify that. I want to thank you for being here. And thank you so much for all of you who have shared in the chat with all of your wonderful thought processes, all of the statements that you've made, your comments. Aurora Borealis 77, you have to have your feet well grounded on the rock, because this world is like a giant vacuum trying to suck you in. Look at that. Whoa, that's a good one. That's a good one. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate comments like all that you all make. So you guys, I want you all to remember something, that while you're here with us today, there's something that I always say on this channel before we close, and that is, that man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds out of the mouth of the Most High Yah. You guys take care of yourselves, and you please take care of one another. Until we see each other again, continue to be blessed. To receive instant notification each time I upload, please hit the subscribe button and the bell notification.
the